If you knew the real reason you can't stop thinking about your ex, you'd stop chasing her today. Most men never figure this out, and it ruins them.
We're going live, baby.
We'll do it live.
You're listening to the premier podcast for men who want to not only be better with women, but want to be better men in general. This is the Come On Man podcast. And here's your host,
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer.
Paul Bauer. He is a certified master life coach and NLP practitioner.
It's true. It's damn true. Man, I've seen it so much over the years, and it's heartbreaking to watch. A lot of guys get dumped, and they just can't let go of their ex. And that rejection breeds obsession, and they end up making absolute fools of themselves trying to get back in her good graces. And some guys waste years doing this kind of crap. So today we're going to talk about the one mindset shift a man needs to snap out of it so he can move on and start living his life again. Before we get into it, though, my name is Paul Bauer. I help men level up and get better with women. And the funny thing about doing that is it tends to make us better men in all areas of our lives. This might be a short episode today. We'll see. But, you know, tomorrow's a holiday, so don't want to keep you guys too long here. But here's the thing. Like when a guy gets dumped, that rejection really hits the ego. And they try to do this mental gymnastics where they think it's about love, right? The mind fixates because the breakup feels like a blow to your worth, not necessarily because she's some special chick that she's the one and I love her or whatever. It's a blow to your ego. It's a blow to your ego and your self-worth. And you're like, if she rejects me, I'm never going to find anyone else. These are the types of things that guys tend to start dwelling on, and they start worrying, will I ever find anyone as good as her? Even though if you really think back to the relationship, there was lots of problems with it. But when guys get into this type of mindset, they can only think about the good times. You know what I mean? By the way, guys, I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So please like, subscribe, and hit those notifications, would you? All right. And so this obsession, it's really about him trying to prove his value to a woman that's rejected him. And so a lot of these guys are trying to chase this and trying to fix it because of the sting of being deemed unworthy by this girl. And so, like I said, it's all ego protection, and they're trying to prove themselves valuable, but the thing is when you're doing that, it's only further, cementing in her mind why she dumped you in the first place. So it ends up being really a negative feedback loop. And this is why a lot of guys get stuck in this for years. And another thing too, as they're doing all this stuff, women are notorious for being totally cool with taking advantage of weak-minded men. And so she's going to ask you to do all this stuff for her, keep doing all this nice stuff, and you're going to keep doing it, thinking that it's going to get back into her good graces, and that she's meanwhile off over here riding that. We're not at the 8-minute mark. She's out there sleeping around. Okay, we'll just say that. We can't say some of the more colorful terms until the 8-minute mark, guys. We can't be adults on YouTube. And another thing too is a lot of guys, their mind tries to rewrite the story. You know what I mean? Like I said, they only remember the good times. So they replay those good times on loop in their mind, analyzing every moment, thinking like, I don't know where everything went wrong. You know what I mean? And then they're looking for some magic fix, and they're thinking that they're looking for just the right words to say and all this kind of stuff. It's like, none of it's going to work. None of it's going to work. Okay. And we're going to get into it here in a little bit, but this type of thing leads guys down the path of being taken advantage of, not just by their ex, who's going to use them for whatever she can get out of them still, but grifters online, they're going to try to teach you how to get your ex back and all that kind of stuff, right? By the way, guys, let me ask you about this, especially you guys that have either are going through a breakup right now, all right, or you've come out better on the other side. Okay. But what replayed in your head the most after your last relationship, after she walked away? I want to see if other guys had the same experience. So let me know in the chat, or if you guys are watching the replay, drop a comment below. What replayed in your head the most after she walked away? Okay. Let me know that. So yeah, so he's obsessing. He's trying to rewrite the story in his head, and so he starts chasing this fantasy, right? What he actually misses is the idea of her and the idea of being in a relationship with her, not necessarily her herself, the real person, or the reality of the relationship. Because if you really sit back and look at it, like relationships don't typically end for no reason. You know what I mean? Like there's probably a lot of problems that led up to it. On Monday's episode, which is pre-recorded, I interviewed this gal, Nikki Corbett. She's the host of the Scarlet Edit podcast. It's going to be a colorful episode because her whole podcast is based on how she was the other woman and she was in a 5-year relationship with a married man. You know what I mean? So that's going to be a fun episode. But one of the things she talks about is the relationship. She met him after her divorce, and we started talking about how women mentally check out from a relationship up to 2 years before they end up pulling the trigger, you know, and I talk about that a lot on the podcast too. So a lot of these guys who are chasing this fantasy of a girl, they don't even realize that she's probably been checked out for months or years before she pulled that trigger. And so everything that he's doing right now to try to fix it is usually futile, especially after she's already said, I don't want to be with you anymore. We are breaking up. We're getting a divorce. We filed papers, all that kind of stuff. It's over. It's over. Okay. But they can't do that because they've told themselves this fantasy story in their head, and you know, they're checking her profile every day and they're looking for signs and all this kind of stuff, and they're just waiting for an opportunity. You know what I mean? So that ends up making him vulnerable to bad advice. Okay. So he starts searching for tricks to reverse the rejection. Right. And that's where you find, that's where a lot of guys found Coach Corey Wayne. A lot of guys. When I was in the original 3% man group, when I was first starting the podcast, you can go back to the early episodes of the podcast, which are terrible, by the way, bad sound, bad lighting, everything was bad. A lot of the guys in the group found their way because they were trying to reattract an ex, and Corey on his website has, you know, all the steps to get your ex back, which I included in Forget That Bitch. I included all of Corey's steps in there because it's a proven strategy to get your ex back. And so for the guys that Forget That Bitch, I'm like, okay, this is why it's a bad idea. And then I know you're not going to listen to me because you're obsessing over her. Okay, so here's how you do it. And then it's okay, now that you've done it and it ended the same, now it's time to move on. Okay, that's how Forget That Bitch is written. And so, but a lot of guys are out there trying to find that kind of advice. I have a 3% brother who is a get your ex back coach now, because he realized that it was more lucrative to do that than it was to be a dating coach. So, but the thing is he's still a dating coach. Okay. So this is where this comes into play, because the first thing you have to do in order to get your ex back is to go no contact. Okay. So, and then you got to start working on yourself and actually start going out dating again. So you're going to need help with that. So that's how he gets you in the door to start teaching you how to date again. Right. But most of these guys who sign up for stuff like that, they're so focused on their ex that they're not trying to date. They're trying to use all this information, this dating stuff and being attractive stuff to get her back. And then they don't really get the results that they want out of life. And like I said, they end up wasting tons of years doing this kind of crap. Okay. So what I recommend, all right, if you're in that position, I think it would be a great idea for you to forget that bitch. And instead of trying to get her back, learn how to move on and never find yourself in this position again. And then once you find a better woman, grab the new book, which drops on Friday. You finally got her back. The spark's alive again. Or you met someone new and everything feels effortless. Right now, anyway. But deep down, you know, most men lose it right after they win it. They stop setting the tone, start coasting, and attraction slowly dies in silence. That's what kills 90% of relationships: complacency. She doesn't stop loving you overnight. She just stops feeling you. And if you think loyalty alone keeps her interested, you're already slipping. Now that you've turned your relationship around with get her to fuck you again, or you moved on and found a real contender after forget that bitch, you need to know how to keep that attraction burning for the long haul. Introducing the next book in the Red Pill Guide series, Keep Your Bitch, coming this December. It's not about saving failing relationships. It's about never letting one fail again. You'll learn how to lead with frame, maintain polarity, and keep her obsessing over you year after year. Because attraction isn't permanent, it's maintained daily. Stay the man she fell for. Stay the man she can't stop thinking about. Keep Your Bitch. Available this December. Indeed, guys. We got some people in the chat here. Brother Omega's in the house. Says, morning, folks. Nurse Chick's in the house, and she always gets this one.
I'm so naughty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna come.
Yep.
That pussy must be ridiculous.
It is. It is absolutely ridiculous. What do we got? Oh, chat. Here we go. Brother Omega says, look at that Henley shirt. High value as can be. You already know, baby. You already know. I think this is this Brother Ed? I think this might be Ed. Is this Ed? I don't know. I don't know who this is. Gotta let go. Don't look back, fellas. And let's see here. It's hard to, oh, no. This is Ed. This is Ed. Basio El Mucho. Good morning, all. I don't know it's so weird. Like, I used to be able to see people's names, but now I just see handles and I'm like, I recognize some people, but other people I don't. I apologize. Let's see here. Urkin says, good day, folks. And Urkin says, who's Omega? And Omega says, a goddamn legend in Wolfpack. I can vouch for that. That's true. That's a fact, man. And also Shreddy Eddie is in the house. This here is Shreddy Eddie. He's a goddamn legend too. Oh shit. He sent a $10 super chat. He says, just find a new woman and keep your sanity for real. Okay. Like, so if you're married and you're like, there's no reason not to fix it, but if she's already dumped your ass and filed divorce papers, it's time to move on, man. That ship sailed, bro. That ship sailed. And Eddie is going to get, he's going to get, I'm going to give him this one.
You're weak as shit and call yourself an alpha. Like, get fucked.
I'm just kidding. But I'm going to give him this one.
Respect the cock and tame the cunt.
There we go. There we go. That's more appropriate for Shreddy Eddie. Okay, guys. Where are we at here? So, okay, let's say he does get her back. Okay. Even if he wins her back, nothing changes. Nothing changes. It's usually a very temporary connection followed by the same arguments and pain because the guy never actually works on himself. Okay. And a lot of guys, they'll go through, they'll read like, forget your bitch. They'll learn how to be more attractive and stuff like that. But as soon as she comes knocking in several months, they'll immediately go back to her. Right. But they never make this stuff permanent. They fall back on old programming. It's like reading the same book over and over again, hoping for a different ending. It always ends the same. Rolo says it's Iron Rule Tomasi number 7. It's like taking the garbage out and then rummaging through the trash out in the street, and your neighbors all see you do it, and it's messy. It's a bad idea. Okay, so that's why in forget that bitch, or forget that bitch. It's one of the things that I show you how to do it, but then it's like, okay, it always ends the same. And I actually have a couple of case studies of guys where like they got it back and it ended up back where they started. So, and there's guys that do this shit for years, man. There are a lot of the guys in the 3% man group that were obsessing over exes. They would occasionally reattract them and they would get back with them for a couple of months and then it would end the same. And then they would be back and they'd be miserable. And then they would get her back, and it's like these chicks, these chicks are like always using these guys too. It's really, really sad. But the real problem isn't her, and it's not necessarily that he wants her back, right? It's the problem is unhealed, ineffective paradigms. Years of outdated thinking still running the show. And this is why you're letting your ego control you, is because you haven't worked on strong mental frame yet. Okay. It's all up here. Okay. Everything ends up here. Okay. Or starts up here. By the way, be like Ed, send a super chat, guys. Okay. So the pattern ends up repeating itself because he hasn't changed. It's the same reason why I tell guys when they're trying to turn around a dead bedroom that just dumping her isn't the solution, because they're still running ineffective relationship paradigms and they're going to have the same problems down the road. Well, the same thing with these guys that are obsessing over their ex, right? They still haven't changed, and she knows it. Like, she's got this preconceived notion of you. And a lot of you guys will go out here just long enough to try to reattract an ex, or just long enough to get another girl. And then you stop working on yourself and you never fundamentally change those ineffective relationship paradigms. And you keep having the same problems down the road with multiple women. Okay. So this guy who wants his ex back thinks getting her back means that he won. I did it. I finally did it. But he's just postponing the inevitable. Okay. And if he doesn't work on what's up here, even if he doesn't get her back and he finds another woman, he's still going to end up in the same boat a couple of years down the road. Okay. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know. besides just being in the space long enough to see it, I've done it. I've been that guy. You know what I mean? Like, I never worked on my paradigms after my marriage, and I ended up in a very similar situation with Red Pill Chick. And it wasn't until after Red Pill Chick that I started working on this stuff. That's when I had the epiphany that I need to rewire what's up here, because clearly what I'm doing isn't working. Okay. That's why I call Red Pill Chick, and I don't call my ex-wife Red Pill Chick, because I didn't get red pilled after my ex-wife. I just thought she was the problem. Right. That's what most guys do. They're like, oh yeah, she's the problem, not me. I'm perfect. Look at all that. Look at this Henley shirt. Look at that. One of the things I talk about in Forget That Bitch is that the foundation of the relationship is cracked. Okay. It's like trying to going back to her on this cracked foundation. It's like trying to build a house on a cracked foundation. It's not going to be strong. It's never going to be strong enough to withstand, nature and what it needs to withstand. Like, it's better after a breakup or a divorce to move on and start fresh with a fresh foundation. You know what I mean? It's way better doing that. And so, yeah, going back with her, it's like going back to a condemned house. It's just a terrible idea. Terrible idea. By the way, if you guys need help working on, oh my God, this is going to be a super short episode, guys. I'm going to grind through this. It's going to be a short episode, but that's fine. But if you guys need help working on this, there's a bunch of guys that are in the wolf pack right now that are working on getting over an ex and getting through it. A lot of guys are doing really good with that stuff. We had a guy a couple of months ago that I've talked about. I think I talked about him several times on Breakup Wednesdays and stuff like that, and probably Frame Fridays, where he was zeroed out. He was zeroed out, and he was talking about wanting to unalive himself and stuff like that. And we got him through it. And now he's moved where his job was. He relocated to a closer location. He's grinding. He's focusing on that stuff, and he's not focusing on his ex anymore. And every time we check in with him, he's doing much better. So if you're in this place where you're going through a breakup, you can't stop thinking about your ex, and you're depressed and all that kind of stuff, I think it's time to run with the wolves, brother. Bear Club? Not anymore.
midlife drift, feeling alone. You don't need hacks, blogs, lies. You need men with fire in their eyes. We rebuild from the ground up. No excuses, no soft stuff. Telegram lit 24/7. Brothers locked in steel, not heaven. Step inside the pack. We don't fall, we attack. Truth, fire, presence, we bring it back. Masculine pride, no time to slack. Step inside the pack. Drop your past, claim your track. No therapy talk, no playing small. We sharpen blades, we take it all.
For the love of God, somebody too sweet me for that one. By the way, guys, smashing that like button is alpha. It's if you're trying to be an alpha male, start by smashing that like button. Brother Dan from Wolfpack says, "Hey, I figured out how to chat on the lives from prison." Brother Dan's he works for a prison. He's not in prison. I think that's for context. I think that's very important. Let's see here. Omega says the contenders list is law for a reason. And let's see here. Oh, Erkin wants to know about police. He goes, what about the police chick? Does she have a nickname too? Yeah, I call her Cop Chick. Yeah. I wasn't with her very long. I was only with her for like 3 months. And I was like, nope. Hey, CW's in the house. Give me that too sweet, baby. Too sweet. All right. Okay, so I mentioned before, if you go online searching for how to get an ex back, you will almost always find stuff about going no contact. You got to go no contact, right? Well, the reason why going no contact works in getting your ex back is because you've got to give her some time to miss you. You've got to give her some time to forget about the bad times. Okay, a few of the guys in the chat here, brother Dan specifically. He's a former military guy, you know, he is a Marine. Okay. There is no former Marines there. He's always a Marine. Anyway, military guys, when you get out of the military, right when you get out, it's almost like, thank God I got out. Cause what a suck fest the military can be. You know what I mean? When you're in the military, it sucks, right? There's a lot of grunt work, bullshit you got to do. And so in the moment, it sucks ass, right? But if you ask a veteran, right? Veterans tend to only remember the good times. All the times they were in Phuket, right? Oh yeah, I was in Thailand. Oh man, what a great time. You know what I mean? I'll tell you what. One time I went to Australia. I went to Sydney, Australia, and in King's Cross, which is sort of like the red light district, which is right up the hill from the base where we pull into port. That's where the what is it? MWR, Morale, Wellness and Recreation, like Department of the Navy. That's where they secure us hotel rooms for at a discount, is up there in the red light district. Well, there was this strip club called Porky's. And Porky's was a renovated theater of some kind. So there was a stage, right? But like a play stage, and then like theater seating, like in a movie theater. And apparently they had rooms upstairs for these women that were strippers that were also prostitutes, which is funny as hell. And so my buddy Stallman and I, we decided, we were both married at the time. So this was on my second deployment. We're trying to stay out of trouble by hanging out. You know, I'm hanging out with married guys, and we go to Porky's, and we find out that they don't serve alcohol, but there's a liquor store right next door, and they're like, you can bring your own alcohol. And we're like, oh crap! So we go and grab a 12 pack of beer and walk into Porky's, and we sit down in the theater, and this chick is on stage, and she pulls some dude up from the audience and lays him on stage, puts a dildo in his mouth, and starts fucking the dildo on the stage. Like, oh man, I don't know why. Oh yeah. I was like, why am I going off on that tangent? Because in the military, when you think about being a veteran, you only think about the good times, right? Like you think about shit like that. Well, that's how no contact works. Okay. You give her some time to forget about all the fights and all the arguments and how much of a weak beta you were. And she only remembers the good times, like when she pulled you up on stage and fucked the dildo in your mouth. Okay. Like that. That's why no contact works. But what I recommend, okay, is go no contact. Absolutely go no contact. Block her on all social media, right? If you were married to her and you're co-parenting, you still need to have an avenue of communication. So don't block her phone number, but there's no reason that you need to be following her on social media. So just fucking block her. So you're not tempted to look at what she's doing, because you will never get over her if she's always in the forefront of your mind. So going no contact is for you. It's for you to actually start moving on, working on your mindset, working on your purpose, finding a purpose, start working on building a great life for yourself and leveling up so that you can actually move forward. Okay. So it's a great tool, but I don't recommend using it to get your ex back. I recommend using it to help forget that bitch. Okay. And see, a lot of guys, they're trying to fill a void instead of facing it and learning to be alone. All right. A lot of guys just don't know how to be alone. In Monday's episode with Nikki Corbett, one of the things she talks about in there is how, she's 47 and she's dating now. And there's a lot of guys who, as soon as they get separated or they get divorced, they're immediately on the dating apps because they don't know how to be alone. Right. And so she's gotten to the place where if a guy says, yeah, I'm separated, she unmatches them because she's like, I don't need to deal with that fucking trauma dumping, for one. But clearly you haven't learned to be alone yet. And you're just trying to fill a void instead of learning how to accept being alone and learning how to be comfortable being alone. And this also goes back to an article that Rollo did back in like 2011, which I did an article or a sponsored stream about, I think last week, on the lonely old man. Like, right. A lot of guys, they go from, being in high school and living with mom. And then they get out of school or they get out, in the real world for a couple of years, and they immediately find a girlfriend and try to marry her. Right. And then they're married for however long, and then they can't be alone. And she divorces him. And then they immediately jump into a next relationship. Like that was me. That was totally me. Right. And that's until after Red Pill Chick. And then I was like, oh, I actually need to learn how to be alone. I need to spin plates and not be try to get locked down. And I did that for quite a while before Nurse Chick decided that she needed to lock me down. You know what I mean? And then Nurse Chick she goes above and beyond like every other woman I've ever met. And I was like, I have to be locked down by her. Like there's, she's fucking earned it. Like, okay. You know what I mean? So yeah, a lot of these guys just don't know how to be alone. And so, and a lot of these guys also are looking to their ex because she's low hanging fruit. You know what I mean? Like they get back out in the dating circuit, and the dating circuit can be really hard if you've been out of practice for a long time. And so then guys are like, oh, this is so fucking hard out here. Maybe I should try to reconcile, right? And she starts looking like the easier option than instead of leveling yourself up and, trying to be more attractive and learn how the game works and stuff like that. In modern dating, it's such a different world now. I mean, women, like their attraction is the same as it's always been, but now we have new technologies. Women have a higher inflated sense of ego because of, all this validation they get from social media and the dating apps and stuff like that a lot of these women have unrealistic expectations. And so dating is way harder than it was back in the late 90s when you actually had to meet women in person, you know what I mean? And so if that's you, if you haven't dated since, fucking AOL was the big thing, you're going to struggle out there. You're going to, okay. By the way, guys, follow me on social media. I'm on most of the good platforms. I used to be on all of them, but I'm still banned from X. But follow me on Instagram or something like that. You know what? I've been having a lot of fun on Threads lately. Threads is not a great alternative to X. It's not. I don't think so. But it serves its purpose for what I use it for, which is usually I like to make inflammatory replies to stupid ass posts from women and then post them as reels on Instagram. Those usually do pretty good. Anyway, you can follow me on Instagram. That would be better, or Facebook. You know what I mean? I stream to Facebook too, by the way. So there's also this preconceived notion problem, which I sort of touched on already, right? So once this girl sees you as needy or insecure and like, you're just not the right guy for her, so she cheats on you or dumps you or whatever, and now either way, she's your ex. She's already seen you this way. And then you trying to get her back all the time just makes you look even more needy and insecure, and that just further hammers nails in that relationship coffin, and she never forgets. So you're just like, you're literally spinning your wheels, wasting your entire life away, trying to get this chick back who doesn't like you anymore. She sees you a certain way. It's near impossible to get her to change her mind about it. And even if you do get back with her, in the back of her mind, she's gonna be like, he's still that guy, isn't he? He's still that guy, and she's gonna look for signs and look for reasons to fucking dump your ass. Okay. It's an uphill battle. And then self-improvement done for her, it fails every time. Okay. It shows the mask always slips. It's the same thing when you're trying to fix your marriage and you're trying to do all this kind of self-improvement shit for her. It's one big giant covert contract, which women see right through that shit. Women see right through that. And it's one of the reasons why you have to make this a part of who you are, so that you do this kind of stuff without having to think about it. Because women, when they see that you might have changed, they test you harder. And if you haven't learned how to handle that, you're going to fail. You're going to fail. And she's going to go, see, boom. See, you're still the same fucking guy. And that's just going to, further cement that. And then what happens is a lot of guys, they do all this work. I've already mentioned this before, but a lot of these guys do all this work just to reach that, whatever goal it is, right? Get her back, get a new girl. They're doing the work just long enough to get into a relationship, and then they stop doing this shit. It's one of the things I fundamentally disagree with Ryan Stone on. All right, right. Like, and I love Ryan Stone, so don't get me wrong. Don't send this to Ryan Stone so that he can turn this into a fucking commercial for him. Because that's what he does when people talk shit about him. He turns it into a fucking funny ass commercial. Well, one of the things that Ryan tells people is get what you need from the space and get out. Get what you need from the space and get out. And that kind of mindset really is just like, hey, use this long enough to get into a relationship and then stop doing it. Okay. Now that might not be what Ryan intends with that messaging, but that's how people take it. Right. And I'm telling you, the work never stops. The work never stops. It's one of the things that I really try to hammer home and keep your bitch. Okay. If you get it, if you're in a relationship right now, if you guys are just watching because you like to watch me fucking, shuck and jive and shit on fucking YouTube, but you're in a good relationship right now, I wrote this book for you. Because I don't want you guys falling back on old programming, and the work never stops, and you need to keep working on getting to that next level constantly, even when things are good. Because what happens is a lot of guys, they get into a new relationship and things are good and they just stop doing this shit. And then they fall back on old programming. And here's the thing about neural pathways in your brain. Okay. Think of neural pathways in your brain like a path through the forest. If any of you guys go hunting, you ever or go hiking or whatever, you see trails through the forest that might not actually be man-made trails. They're game trails, right? Like deer like to follow the same path through the forest and they'll pack down a certain area. Well, your neural pathways work the same. Okay. Your habits and your paradigms form neural pathways where your brain easily just goes back to it. It makes it easier. So when you're rewiring this stuff, you're forming new neural pathways that you're going to keep going down as long as you keep practicing it, right? As long as you keep reading the material, you keep, doing the affirmations, you keep doing all the stuff that I talk about in like all the different books, right? But as soon as you stop doing that, these old neural pathways never go away, not fully. And so it's way easier to go, oh, well, this path is easy, and then go back down it. That's how our minds work. So the work never stops, and you can't undo 20, 30, 40 years of programming by reading a book once. You can't. Okay. And then and I like to say, read it at least 10 to 15 times, because we only retain 10% of what we read or listen to, But even then, after 10 to 15 times, you still have the old neural pathways there. So you still have to reinforce this somehow. And what I recommend for guys is don't take what you need from the space and leave. I say at least revisit this shit at least once a year. You know what I mean? Like, you've read it 10 to 15 times, you're leveling up, you're getting better, you're doing all this kind of shit. Brother Omega, he's reading like the same 7 or 8 books or whatever on repeat for the next 6 months. That's great. You know, but doing 7 or 8 books on repeat for like 10 years will probably burn you out. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to get burned out either. And so at least revisiting, like, maybe you find like the book that you just want to revisit, right? Revisit that one once a year and you'll probably be okay. It'll reinforce those neural pathways. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah. So so most guys, they as soon as they get into that relationship or they get her back, they stop working on the shit and it all just comes creeping back in. By the way, guys, if you guys haven't yet, check out my dread course, dread.fixdeadbedrooms.com. It's geared towards guys who are in failing relationships. But if you guys are in a good relationship right now, it would behoove you to learn passive dread and incorporate it into your day-to-day so that you never let this attraction go. I talk about it a lot in Keep Your Bitch. So when a guy breaks up with a girl or she dumps his ass, right, he needs to learn to be comfortable being alone, at least for a while, right? If he can't stand being by himself, or if he can't stand by himself, he can't stand in a relationship, you know? And I've seen this a lot. One of my old 3% brothers, he used to be an admin in the group. He was like this, you know what I mean? Like, he just could not be alone. And he was with this really toxic ass chick. The sex was great though, guys. The sex was amazing. But he ended up moving her into his house, and it turned out she was a raging alcoholic. And then one night he was sick of her shit and he was threatening to kick her out. And so she called the cops on him and said that he hit her. So he ended up spending a night in jail. He got a temporary restraining order put on him, and he couldn't even go back to his own fucking house. He had to go and go through the court system and file an eviction and do an eviction process to get her out of his house so he could even go back to his fucking house. Okay. He broke up with her, and like within a month, he was in an exclusive relationship already. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I was like, you know, the game plan is to spin plates, right? And like take some time for yourself and learn to fucking heal from this shit, right? Take like 6 months to learn to be alone and heal. Don't even worry about fucking dating right now, right? He just couldn't be alone. And he was like, I walk into the house and the silence is deafening. I just can't deal with this shit. And so he went back on the dating circuit, got into an exclusive relationship with a chick that didn't like to fuck him because she didn't have that genuine desire. And he needed a chick with like a high sexual appetite. And I'm like, did you fucking make a contenders list at least? No, he just jumped in the first relationship with a chick that was nice with him, right? I'm like, are you sure you're a 3% brother? Like, are you sure you fucking read this shit 10 to 15 times? It makes me shake my fucking head, man. Like, this goes back to like last Friday's episode on the guys who do the work versus the guys who don't. You see what I'm saying? So a guy who breaks up with a girl really needs to learn to be comfortable, be alone, and he has to build a new life, not try to rebuild a new one. And he needs to really try to make a great life of it for himself and realize that women can never be the center of the world. She can never be, Brother Nathan likes to say the ice cream sundae. She can never be the ice cream in the sundae. She can only be like the cherry on top. Okay. That's it. And until you built that, you're never going to be solid as a man and be truly good at having a relationship, because you're going to constantly make these chicks the center of your world. And that's always going to drive chicks away. When you make them the center of your world instead of your purpose and your mission in life, that tends to drive women away. It really does. It's just the nature of the beast. It's Breifeld's law. Women want to hitch their wagon to a fucking champion horse. You know what I mean? They don't want to be the horse. You know what I mean? Where you're hitching your life to her because she's fucking hot. She's got that great ass. And then in true progress, if you really want to work on this stuff, it comes from repetition and discipline, right? Consistent reinforcement of the new beliefs. It's the only way the guy's going to fundamentally rewire what's up here. Okay. That repetition. And if you want, like, if you're doing like the affirmation stuff, affirmation is repetition backed by strong emotion and belief. Okay. That's what really cements it into your subconscious. It bypasses that ego protection layer and forms new paradigms that you operate on without even have to think about it. But it only comes from discipline and repetition. Like, there's going to be days where you're not going to feel like doing this shit. You're not going to feel like going to the gym. You're not going to feel like listening to an audiobook or whatever, but you got to do it. You got to do it. You got to do it anyway. Discipline is doing what you know you need to do, whether you feel like it or not. You know what I mean? And you gotta change how you look at the breakup itself. Because a lot of guys, one of the reasons why they're pining for an ex is because they're looking at it like a failure. They're looking like, I failed here. And one of the things I'd like to reframe the idea of failure. And I want you guys to eliminate that from your vocabulary. You didn't fail. It was a lesson. You're learning something, right? There's no winning and losing. It's winning and learning. Okay. So don't look at your breakup like a failure. Learn, like, what did you learn from that experience? Probably learned what kind of woman you probably shouldn't be in a relationship with, for one, right? Like, this is one of the things I learned about Red Pill Chick, right? Inherently, I don't think she was like a bad person, but there was a lot of things in that relationship that if I had the do-over, I wouldn't have gotten into an exclusive relationship with her. She had a lot of weird shit going on with her ex. He one time kicked the door down in her backyard because her daughter was talking shit. And so he kicked the door down because she slammed the door in his face. And he was a big dude too, like, 6'3" and fucking 400 pounds. And he just fucking kicked that back door in. There was that kind of shit. Both her teenagers ended up getting pregnant while they were in high school. Her son ended up knocking up a transgender dude, a woman that identified it as man. That was kind of a weird fucking situation. You know what I mean? Like, there was a lot of shit that was toxic as fuck. She didn't know how to raise her kids. She couldn't, set boundaries with her kids, which she would yell at them a lot, but never enforce any of the rules that she gave them, which is why they just fucking disregarded her and did a bunch of stupid ass shit. There was just a lot of stuff that I look back on going, man, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't have tolerated like any of this stuff, So I learned a lot. Right. And so I invite you to look at your breakups, not necessarily as failures, but what did you learn from it? Right. And also try to look at some of your past relationships too, for like, what were the blessings in those relationships? Okay. Cause no one, like, when you're going out dating and you're talking shit about your exes, that's unattractive behavior. Think about when you go on a date and this chick is bad mouthing all of her exes. That if things don't work out with the two of you, she's going to be bad mouthing you to the whole fucking town. Like, do you want that? No. So women don't want that either. So I would invite you to look back on your past relationships for what were the blessings in that. Like, some of the things from my relationship with Red Pill Chick was that she got me into audiobooks, right? If it wasn't for her giving me total money makeover, I wouldn't have like fixed all my finances and like, had a big emergency fund that I can live off of while I'm trying to get this business off the ground. Right. Well, that was a blessing. That kind of stuff was a blessing. She got me into running. And so before that, the longest I ever ran was 1.5 miles because that's all the Navy required. And I figured that was good enough. And then she got me to do a 5K and then got me to do some 10Ks. And then after we broke up, I actually decided to do a marathon, and I got into a runner's community and stuff. And so I look at that kind of stuff like blessings, right? I look at my ex-wife, who I can't stand her, right? But there were some blessings from that. She was really good at networking, and she got my foot in the door in my first IT company back, before I retired from IT. But she got me there. She pushed me to go to college. I didn't really like at one point I didn't want to go to college because I got out of the Navy, and like I thought I needed to go to college, but I didn't want to. And I was just going to be like a fucking factory worker or some shit, you know? And she was like, no, like, let's go down there. It's not hard. Like, let's go sign up for classes. And so she takes me down there and signed up for classes. Like, that was great. That was a blessing. And then that got me, you know, further in the career, and I ended up being a senior director in IT, you know, like that. If she didn't get my foot in the door, I don't know if I would have ever done that. Right. So I like to look at that kind of stuff as blessings. Right. So what did you learn from the relationship, and what were the blessings from the relationship? Those are all net positive things to think about. Okay. The real enemy with all of this kind of stuff is having a victim mentality, a victim mindset when it comes to anything. That's why I can't stand MGTOW guys, and I can't stand black pillars. Okay. Now, to be fair, MGTOW exists on a spectrum, very much like the autism spectrum, right? There's guys that are on the MGTOW spectrum that will, you know, they still like women, they still enjoy women's company, they just don't want to get married, right? And like they'll be in relationships or whatever. That would be me. I would, if that's your definition of MGTOW, then I'm a MGTOW guy on that end of the spectrum. But then there's like black pillars down here that are nihilists. They don't want anything to do with women. They don't trust women. They fucking talk shit about women all day online. Like, that's negative. And those guys all have a victim mentality. They're all like, oh, women did X, Y, and Z to me, and I'm the victim here. Well, as soon as you get into the state of being a victim, you remove all of your own power. You're completely powerless. And it's a prison of your own mind, being a victim all the fucking time. You know, it's the same thing as looking for things to be offended by all the fucking time. If that's you, if you're constantly offended because you're always looking for things to be offended by, you're always going to find things to be offended by, and you're always going to be a victim. It's a fucking weak ass mentality to have. Okay. So I would invite you to not be a fucking victim and start taking control of your own fucking life. And that all starts up here by eliminating that victim mindset. Okay. It keeps you stuck in bitterness, and it prevents all your growth. You need to eliminate that. So the one thing, the one mindset shift that will help you stop chasing your ex is to realize that it was never about getting her back. It was never about getting her back to begin with. Okay. Your life changes only when you stop trying to reclaim the past and start building yourself into a man who never has to chase again. Right? That's largely what I'm trying to get guys to that kind of mindset in Keep Your Bitch. In Keep Your Bitch, it's all about making sure you never fucking end up here again. Okay? Whether it's you're in a bad relationship, you managed to turn it around, things are pretty good right now. I never want you to be in that position again. Okay. Whether you got dumped and now you're in a good relationship, I never want you to be in that position again. That's why I wrote Keep Your Bitch. It's for those guys who have done the work and they never want to be there again. All right. It drops on Friday, guys. All right. That's all I got, guys. What do we got here in the chat? Dan says, I don't know why there are 10 watching and only 7 likes. Fix yourselves. Right. What is your major malfunction with hitting that like button? It is feminine to be afraid of being alone. I kind of agree with you on that, you know? And let's see here. Omega says, yeah, I'm on rotation 5 now, a quarter way through the 8 books. Okay, so it's 8 books. It's not 6 or 7, guys. Oh, my son fucking does that shit. It's 8 books, right? So he's on rotation 5, a quarter way through the 8 books. That's crazy, man. But that's awesome. It's amazing to watch. He's actually inspiring a lot of guys in the group to do the same thing. And Brother Beach says, yes, I hate the victim mentality. I fucking do too, man. It's fucking annoying. People that are just constant victims, man. Stop that shit. All right, guys, that's all I got. Tune into the podcast Friday. It will be Black Friday. My new book will be out by then, which is great. But we're going to talk about your mindset when it comes to the holidays, like Christmas, which is basically just another consumer holiday that lands people in ridiculous amounts of debt. I might talk about this a little on the podcast Friday, but my cousin Steve, he is terrible with fucking money, and he learned terrible money habits from his parents. His parents were always in crushing debt, and one of his great memories of his mom, who passed away several years ago. One of his great memories was that, for Christmas, she always wanted to make sure us kids didn't want for anything, and it was always a magical Christmas. So she would go out every Christmas and get a personal loan, go into debt to buy kids fucking presents. And when she died, her and my uncle were in crushing fucking debt. They were trying to convince my mom to sell our family property, which has been in the family for generations. And they wanted to sell it just because they were having money problems and shit. And I was telling my mom, like, no, they're like, we sell the property, they're going to take it and fucking still be in the same position in a year from now, because they fucking suck with money. Okay. That's the kind of thing that I want you guys to avoid. And that's what we're going to be talking about on Friday, right? Like, get out of this consumer mentality when it comes to Christmas, and don't be going into debt, buying a bunch of fucking ridiculous shit that people don't even really want or need. You know what I mean? We'll talk about that all on Friday. Well, also, I'm going to kick the show off with this video that I played on the Dragon Ship, I think last year, about how Christmas is a psyop, basically, that was orchestrated by Coca-Cola. You guys are going to love it. That's what we're going to start the show with on Friday. So that's what we're going to do. Tune into that. There's no sponsored stream tomorrow, but tomorrow's Thanksgiving. So I want to wish you guys a very happy Thanksgiving. And if you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, hit those notifications. I do have new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So go be with your families, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
This has been the Come On Man podcast. Now, go out and get it.